Thanks, Chris. We're back with Ben Talent from Arrow Exterminators talking about pest control. So we've determined when the weather gets nice outside and cooler, the pests want to come in and get warm with you, which is not good. So what are some prevention tips that people can do now to kind of get ready for that?
Well, Katie, what they can do is what most people do during the wintertime when it starts getting cold, they have a fireplace. They're going to start cutting wood. So just make sure if you're cutting firewood, just to stack it away from the home, because if you stack it right up against the house, especially big stacks of wood, then that just gives many things a nice place to hide and to live, and it's right there at the home. So, just make sure you move that wood out, away from the home. Keeping the bushes trimmed back, keeping the trees trimmed back away from the home and the foundation, because if you have limbs that's overhanging the roof and things like that, then
easy access to the house.
There you go. They can get right in there. As I said before, just keeping the kitchen areas and anywhere that you have food, just keeping it sanitized, keeping food in sealed containers, going around and making sure all the cracks and crevices around the home, whether it's where, like I said, where a power entry point is, or around a meter base or something like that. Make sure those kind of areas are sealed up, because they can get in. A rodent can get in a space the size of a nickel, so it don't take a very big spot. So they can easily get in. Something simple as just your screen and your doors. Just making sure your screens are in good working order. Making sure you can get at the back of the house and kind of look toward the front door to make sure you don't see daylight coming around the door. Just simple things like that. Not only will it help with pests, but if you can see daylight coming around the door, then I'm sure that you're losing heating or air conditioning out the doors or the windows too. So that's another issue. These are some things to kind of do now and make sure you're prepared so those pests don't find their way in when it gets cold. Thank you so much, Mr. Talent. We appreciate it. We're going to go to a quick break. More Good Day is coming up.